I was standing in it and it right through my body.
You shorted out. You need to put some sunglasses on.
Hey guys, Matt here with BleepinJeep. This video is brought to you by Onyx. Let me show you how to vote for us on our Holy Grail build. You're going to go to onyxmaps.com, go over here to Onyx Off-Road, and then you're going to click blog. You can follow this link, or you can just follow the link in the description below, which will take you straight here. Click right here, learn more, and vote for us for our Holy Grail build to further our chances of winning this challenge. One of the questions I do get a lot is if you need to pay to vote, and you don't need to pay to vote. You can just log in. You can also do a free 7-day trial, a premium membership, or an elite membership. One of the things that I like about the elite membership is if you click right here, you can learn more about it. You get private land boundaries and ownership info, which is what I love, so you can go check things out and see who owns the property if you're on somebody else's private property, and more information. Other things you get is more recent imagery and better rates on your favorite brands. So check out all these brands right here. Each one gives you discounts if you are an elite membership. So for example, Northridge 4x4, $150 off of $1,000 or more. And there's so many of these, it's a great opportunity. So check that out at onyxmaps.com. And if you do sign up, make sure to use the member discounts on our website, BleepinJeep.com, for 20% off. You can find that coupon code right here, BleepinJeep20, for 20% off on Onyx Maps.
Check it out, guys. We skipped a couple of days of filming because we had a lot of tedious things to do, and we figured you guys wouldn't want to watch all that stuff. Basically what we were doing was moving the frame forward, which I think you saw, but then we had to put this engine in here, and that was very tedious because of the placement. So we wanted to get it in the perfect spot. This Jag came up and down like 100 times to figure out where it was going to be. As you can see, there's clearance issues everywhere. It was real close here, it's real close there, it's real close here. When you bring the body down, we had to take out just a little bit there, but otherwise it fits really good. So we got the engine back as far as we can to where it almost touches the firewall. We've got it to where the radiator should be able to sit in the car where it was previously, but we're gonna have to get a different radiator. But we should be able to have clearances there. And then we got some motor mounts. So these are upgraded motor mounts for a different vehicle, but they fit on the 12 valve. There's just different mounting spots for them. So what we did was we took a plate of 1/4-inch steel and we put it right behind here and welded that onto the back of the frame. So that's going to add a little bit of strength onto the back and kind of strengthen up where these motor mounts are going to get welded onto. And then I made some cardboard templates, and what we did was just trace that cardboard, cut it out with a plasma torch. And this one had to get bent a little bit, but most of them are straight. They look about like this. They're all different. Every single one of them is different. But they're going to go just like so and then get welded to that plate that we put there. The reason that they're copper colored, Josh got this U-POL weld through copper rich primer, which is kind of cool because you can spray paint something with it and then you can weld to that. That way, if you wanted to weld something that wasn't going to be accessible or paintable, or something like this where maybe you don't want to take the engine back out and weld on the back of that after you're finished, you can go ahead and paint it first and then weld it, and it won't melt away like regular paint would. So that's kind of neat. What we're going to do now is put these two together, and we're going to put some nuts and bolts on here, make sure it's tight, and then I'm going to weld this in place. I've raised it up about 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch where I think it's going to be, because I know that those motor mounts are going to sag over time, if not right away. This is 1,000 pounds or more on some rubber bushing. So I knew that we had a real tight clearance right here. So I knew that if that sagged at all, it was going to be an issue. So I raised it up maybe a 1/2 inch above where I thought it was going to be. Okay. So I'm going to weld that here in a second, but we're also thinking about how we're going to mount the back here. So the transmission gets a mount, and this was the transmission mount here. You can see how far we've moved the engine back. So the hole right here lined up with that hole. So you can tell it's a good 14 inches further back than where it was. Now we could just move this mount further back, but what we're trying to do is lift the transmission up higher than what it was from the factory, because we want to make as much of a flat-bellied skid as we can. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do that completely because the transfer case sticks down a little bit. But if you notice how low this cross member hangs down, it's really, really low. And where we've got it now is probably 2 or 3 inches above where it was mounted previously, and it still clearances the car at that point. So if we can get that way up high, we're going to take a lot less risk of hitting rocks and dragging it on things. And you can buy transmission mounts. They're like DIY transmission mounts, but we're going to make our own, even more DIY. So let's go check that out. So you'll see how this goes together in a minute, but basically all we need is something supporting upwards on the transmission. In this case, there's 2 holes, and then we need that to go to the frame rails. So TMR makes a really good one, which I've used previously, but this is on the cheap, so we don't want to spend any more money. So basically, this is going to be like for the transmission mount, something like that. It's going to hold the transmission, and then you're going to have a tube that goes side to side across from frame rail to frame rail. And then on the edges of that tube, we're going to weld 2 more tubes with some bushings. So we just found all this stuff in our junk drawer over there. So basically that's going to get welded like that with a little bushing in there. And then on the frame, we're going to take these guys. These are tabs that we sell. We have a whole bunch of different ones on BleepinJeep.com of all different shapes and sizes. And so I just picked what I thought would be appropriate, maybe something that looks like this. And then that's going to go on either side like so. That's going to get welded to the frame rails on that side. And then another bushing on this side, and that's going to get welded to the frame rails on this side like so. And then this is going to support the transmission wherever that needs to get welded, maybe like this or like this. And then we'll do some little brackets to make that strong. But then the reason that's awesome is you build your skid plate underneath that. And if you ever need to drop your skid plate, you don't have to drop the transmission down with it. If you're on the trail and for whatever reason you need to drop your skid plate, or if you're just in the shop and you want to drop your skid plate to do maintenance, you don't have to try to support the transmission as the skid plate comes down. So that'll be separate than the skid plate. Now you can, like I said, mount that onto the skid plate, but then if you ever have to drop the skid plate, it becomes a huge issue and you have to figure out how to support the back end of it, which if you have a big skid plate can be a really big problem. These are, I think, from a JK, and these are from a JL. If you wanted to get really cheap, if you didn't have some bushings lying around like that, we could just take these and cut those off, or even use part of that tube and input that here like this and make our own out of some old arms from a JK or JL or whatever you got lying around. That was from that red Cheap build series. I think I snagged those from takeoffs from a JK. Does that make sense, Josh?
Makes perfect sense to me.
Does that make sense, viewers at home? Let's see if we can make this work in real life. One of the things I do want to do is get a tube that fits inside of here, because it's really hard to get a tube cut to perfect length if you have a set distance you need to go by. So if we can cut this pretty short and have 2 other tubes, so there'll be 3 tubes basically, and then you just put this in the middle and you extend this tube out to where it fits tight, and then you just weld it.
I think we're going to have to bend it too.
Yeah, we might have to end up getting a little technical with the bend. Maybe the frame rail is up here and it comes down, transmission goes back up, and then you have to be careful of your drive shaft too coming out. All right, let's weld this up first. I'm gonna put a new tip on here because I probably haven't changed this in a while. Actually, all the nasty stuff just fell off as I was messing with it. Maybe I won't change it. We can get another couple years out of that tip, you think?
Yeah.
So this right here is what helps with that. Tip dip. This is the Cooter Snot brand tip dip. And you don't really do it now, but when it's hot, you stick it in there, and it basically keeps all that nasty slag and stuff from sticking to your tip and to your nozzle.
Lubes your cooter.
So I left this overnight. I hope it hasn't settled overnight. If I can put this right here and still have, it might have settled about an 1/8 inch. See how that one is about a 1/2 inch above there?
Yeah.
That's about where I had it, so I don't know what's going on. It moved down slightly, but it's still high enough.
I see you have 0.9 and you're measuring with
What?
a tape.
Well, no, I use this guy.
Okay. I was going to say, show me 0.9 on your measuring tape.
0.9 is right
there.
there. It's still pretty much level. Let's see if our frame is level.
Is our level?
Is our level? This is a line level like you'd use on a string line. For construction projects, I think it's good. I'm getting caught.
Good enough for SEMA.
I was telling Josh the other day, I said, do you realize what we're building? And he was like, yeah, we're building a Dodge Jag. And I said, yeah, but we're building a SEMA car. This is my first SEMA car build, and it's a complete hunk of junk. Okay, how's this side? It's got about a 1/2 inch gap here.
Yeah, which is kind of, that's where it was.
Okay. All right, Josh, you're in charge of the water. You're in charge of the water. We're welding on these brackets, which are attached to rubber at the other end, so we don't want to get them too hot. So Josh is going to come back after me with some water, and spray them down a little bit. I'm just going to tack them for right now, though. Here goes nothing. It's not even hot yet. Alright, I'm going to switch over to the other side while that cools a little bit. This one's tricky to get to down in here. I got a problem.
Broken?
It's not doing anything. Maybe it was the water. Maybe it was the water. I was standing in it and it right through my body.
And you shorted out too?
Yeah, and I shorted it out.
Yep. Trigger's bad. You just gotta clean it.
Gotta clean it. Just got dirty in those 20 seconds that I was welding. It got dirty.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little spacey still. Okay, I just sprayed in there with some contact cleaner. I don't think that worked, Josh. Maybe we should get a toggle switch, and I'll just toggle it on and off.
You can get a momentary.
How about a foot pedal? Maybe it's planned obsolescence. Maybe there's a little computer in there that says, all right, it's time.
I'm sure it's planned obsolescence.
I was looking on Amazon. They're $18.75 for one of those if we have to get a new one. There you go. So how'd you get that to work?
I took it apart and put it back together.
All right. Good job, Joshua.
What I do all day, every day.
Fix problems?
And create them.
It's a tight squeeze in there. I have no idea if I was hitting my mark on that because I couldn't see it. I was just hoping. Looks like I started off in the right spot and kind of got off. Yeah, you can see I did sort of good. Mostly.
Oh, I've been spraying the wrong thing. I thought you welded this one.
It's getting hot. Spray it. Should we x-ray it?
X-ray it?
Yeah, the pros have to x-ray their work to make sure it's welded all the way through. You don't want to x-ray it. I see one more spot I can get maybe. All right, guys, we're looking at how to strengthen this thing up. This motor's got a lot of torque, so I just welded this plate on the back of here, and I don't want that to peel off, so we're trying to figure out how to bring that weld down into here, further into the frame. Found these two tabs, which we ground down the edges a little bit to fit a little better, but I think they're gonna go just like that. They're gonna go like that for wings, basically. We'll be able to add weld here and here and along there, and hopefully keep that a little bit stronger and stiffer. But we are very close to the rubber this time.
You guys aren't looking straight into that welder, are you? You need to put some sunglasses on.
Okay, here we go. It's gonna get spicy right here. Okay, I think that's gonna be much stronger. It looks pretty cool too, other than I got some weld splatter in there. And you can't have weld splatter on a SEMA build, so Josh, can you take care of that for me?
I can do it.
I'm gonna work on this side. The other side's a little different in that the wings are kind of be flat like this. So I'll get to that. So now not only do we have bracing, we have hardened, heat-treated bracing. Should be pretty good. Let me show you what that's gonna look like. It looks like that'll be much stronger, plenty stronger than what we had, and I think that'll work just fine. Now what I'm interested to see is if it's gonna drop down any. So I put this stick across here. Josh, can you take that jack, lift it up? We have to pull out these blocks here. Hopefully they're not stuck in there. Uh-oh, those blocks are stuck. I guess that tells you that those bushings are good.
Yeah.
Come on, blocks. Okay, so there's about just a little bit of play in there where this is higher than the two sides. Let's let it down and see what happens. Oh, play's getting smaller. Oh, play's gone. So it did come down, I would say, 1/4 of an inch already. Were you expecting them to bow out and just...
I was expecting to want to twist in.
Twist? Well, I'm glad I lifted it up about a 1/2 inch beforehand, because that did shrink a little bit. But so some of the issues that we did have was making sure that this outlet was above the frame rail. We had a AC compressor there, but we removed it, although it would still work in there. We're also trying to keep that oil pan as high as possible to keep it off the rocks and stuff. And we want to make sure that the oil pan is going to clearance the drive shaft and the drive shaft yoke, more importantly, because that right there is going to be spinning around, and whenever this side flexes up, not only does it go up, but it also goes in and back because of the way the leaf springs work. These will flex back like this, and that'll push this axle back a little bit and up and in. On this side, I was worried a little bit about that pump, but I think that's it. I don't think there's anything really. Might have to take out some more in there. The leaf springs still aren't flat.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they haven't gone flat already.
I'm surprised that those were on the front of a Toyota.
I was watching the video back of when we wheeled the Toyota, and they didn't flex at all.
Oh, I'm sure they didn't.
Yeah, they were just stiff. They were super stiff. But it's still not as much weight as we had when the tractor was on there. When we had the tractor up on here and pushing down on it, that arrow lined up with that bolt, and it still has more to go.
We moved these forward 1/2 inch.
Did we?
Yeah.
Push down on that. I want to show the people what happens when you put weight on it. There you go. So if you really hit a bump, that sucker's going to go up like this. Thanks, Josh. What's cool about that is you get a lot of flex, because whenever you drop it out, that thing can pivot all the way forward and give you a lot of down travel if your shocks are long enough. Okay, now it's time to make cross member for right here. Let's make sure that this is still straight. Here's our center line. Looks good. Okay, back to this mess. Let me show you how this is going to work in a little diagram if you guys were confused earlier. So basically we're going to have a small tube, a big tube, we're going to have another small tube, and then we're going to have a tube this way, tube this way, a bushing, and then we're going to have 2 tabs, one here, one here. This is our frame rail. Same thing on this side, bushing, tab, frame rail, and then a bolt, and then onto that tube we're going to put this guy right here, 2 holes in it to mount the transmission. Just like that. So Josh, we need to find 2 small tubes, long tubes, that will go into that tube. Alright, looks like my plasma table is out of water. I'm going to fill this thing up. This is a plasma table top that uses the bottom half of a 55-gallon drum, and it's got these little slots in here. I need to replace these. They're getting pretty nasty. But basically, you can cut over this, and the water kind of takes all the dust, or a lot of the dust away that you would typically get with the plasma cutter table. That table's pretty neat. I hope they still make them. It's made by 911 Motorsports, and I've had it a long time. They also had one that the top was a Harbor Freight like cart, so almost like the small Harbor Freight roll-around toolbox that we use, and the plasma table top fit over that, which was pretty neat. This one, I've just got a hinge on it attached to my welding table, and if you drain it, it actually hinges down and kind of folds underneath the welding table. All right, so I've got this 1/4-inch plate steel, and we're going to do the same thing for the transmission mount that we did for the motor mounts, which is to beef up the frame, because right now we've got a C-channel frame like this, and we want to create a box frame to kind of beef it up a little bit. So I need 5.5 inches, 5.5 plus a little bit, 5.5 by 10, and we need 2 of those. Alright, I don't need it for this, but this table has clamps that come with it. So you can put your plasma torch in these holes, but you can also put your clamp in that hole, slide it down, and then clamp down objects to the table. Alright, let's give this a whack here. right, so these plates are gonna go right here where we cut the frame previously, and they're gonna beef that section up because we already cut it. I think it'll hold for sure, but we're just gonna beef it up just in case there's ever a lot of torque and a lot of ripping. Plus, we're also gonna have another 500 or 600 pounds supported right in that spot where we welded it back together. So these plates are gonna get welded in like this, but they're gonna cover up what we've already welded, and that's not painted, so time to break out the copper spray paint again. All right, check that out. Just a little added protection there on either side. That's gonna decrease my stress levels a little bit, knowing that that's not gonna fall apart. Next, we're gonna add some tabs to that, and we'll create a cross member to support that big heavy thing. All right, let's see what kind of scrap we can reuse for this project. Oh, that's looking real good. Look at that one. All right, so let's build these tabs. We've got 2 of these bushings, and then that's gonna go here like so, like so. Put a bolt through there and a nut. We'll do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll mock this up. All right, we've got our little brackets here. They're gonna go something like that, and then we've got our scrap tubes. They're gonna get welded on there, something like that. We're gonna do one of those on each side, and then we're going to bridge the gap with a larger tube that just slides over this tube, and then we'll weld right around here. So I just need to make sure we're at the right height. This side is easy. The other side, though, we have to clear the drive shaft, so that's gonna be a pain in the butt. I also have to figure out where the best place for that zerk is going to be. More than likely we'll have a skid plate on the bottom here. On the top though we'll have the car, so either one's going to be in a crappy place, but I'm thinking the top maybe. Maybe we'll spin that around to the top like that, have the zerk fitting here, and maybe we can get in from the top. All right, that's where this tool comes in handy. This is a tube notcher, so it's basically just a hole saw that's held in with some clamps. So we're gonna put our tube in here, and we're gonna notch this. The tube that this is going to, that I need to weld it to, is between 1 3/4 and 2 inches, but I don't have a hole saw that size, so we'll go with 1 3/4 and weld the gap, I guess. This right here is Big Bertha, and she is an arm ripper, so you gotta watch out. Okay, here we go. Now you could use an angle grinder, but this machine is really handy. It's just a 12-inch bench grinder or disc grinder. That just cleans up and chamfers the edges, makes them real nice and clean. All right, that goes here. This goes here. And now we can get our height in 2 ways. We can go up or down with this bracket, or we can shorten this, which will raise the height of the bottom area of this tube. So we'll just do that on the other side, figure out how to get around that drive shaft, and then we'll tack it all in place. Gosh, the lunch lady's here. You guys are in for a treat because the lunch lady has visited us today. You're like the food Santa Claus.
Did you grow a beard?
Maybe we'll call you Mrs. Food Claus.
Mrs. Food Claus?
Yeah.
Mrs. Lunch Lady Claus?
Is that, what is that?
Couscous.
You brought couscous for lunch?
Yes. is? Is that weird?
What do you think? We're some kind of fancy people?
Well, I'll eat it and you can, I don't know, eat whatever's in the freezer in there. Good luck. So this is Tuscany chicken, and then it's couscous and asparagus.
Asparagus?
Asparagus.
Asparagus and
Yeah.
couscous and Tuscany chicken.
And Tuscany chicken.
Usually she says that I'm dumb for asking how to eat this, and now she says, okay, I have to show you how to eat this one. How do you eat this one?
So this one you put on top of the couscous, and then you get a little extra something something, because couscous is meant to be like smothered. So you smother it like this. See?
Let's give this a shot, guys. Gotta get our couscouses right there. And you gotta get our chicken marsala.
It's not chicken marsala. Tuscany.
Chicken Tuscanys.
Tuscany chicken.
Oh man, look at that, guys. Don't you wish you were here at BleepinJeep headquarters to try that?
Yes, I don't always make chicken tenders and fries.
Whoever said that, she's mad at you. She is mad at you. That's good stuff. Okay, come down a little. There you go. That's about perfect right there. You see any problems on your side?
Nope.
Let's get the welder. We'll tack it in place. Before we permanently affix that transfer case, we're gonna lower the car down one more time and make sure that nothing moved, because we haven't checked it since we did the engine mounts. That thing does get really close. Whoa, that was like a 1/16 of an inch from breaking that off. I bet you one of the bolts is hitting on the other side. Yeah. There we go. So that's what we're looking at right there. And it is just enough to get a finger up through there, so. What is the correct order to do this that we're not gonna get trapped? We gotta tack everything. Tack, tack, tack. Okay, and then we're gonna have to pull the bushings to actually weld it. Okay. Okay. So this plate right here came with the truck. We're gonna recycle that. That's what's gonna be underneath supporting the transmission. But all I really need is these two holes and a big chunk of plate. So I'm gonna cut this off. First I'm gonna wash it up. All right, come under here with me, guys. Check this out. That is the mounting portion. This plate is gonna go like this. We need a washer, and two bolts are gonna go like that. That tube is gonna go right through here. All right, we're gonna continue tacking that. We'll be showing you guys the progress in a minute, but for now it's pretty boring. Hey Josh. Besides the bushings, this thing was made completely out of scrap steel that was in our scrap pile. I think those bushings might have come with one of those vehicles that we bought for the challenge or something, just like in the back seat somewhere. All right. I like my paint heat cured. Tends to dry instantaneously like that. Okay. She's about dry already. That's a little tip for you guys. If you need to paint something and you want it to dry a lot quicker, Use flat black, dries way quicker than the gloss black. Here we go. Now, if we did everything correctly, should just be able to put this one on and then swing it up. Maybe. Oh, that's hot. It's still hot. Ow! I think I need you to hold the other side. And now I've got anti-seize. It's just gonna start spreading like a disease.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Go up. There you go. How's that? Hopefully it's close. We might have to squeeze the frame. Ha-ha! Look at that. Now, we need a jack. There we go. Oh yeah!
Alright, so anyway.
Check that out. Now I know that doesn't seem like a big deal to you guys, but we just moved this engine back like 16 inches and remounted it, and it still fits this car on top of it. You guys want to see that? All right guys, check it out. There's no jacks under there. No jacks. All right guys, well that was fun. Hope you enjoyed it. We're gonna continue this build next time, so we'll see you then.